Next to 9 a.m., it's the Brian Kilmeade Show. Now back to Cardle and Wooley on Talk 1370.
All right, Lynn Wooley, there's your friend, Brian Kilmeade. This is the Cardle and Wooley Show. Welcome and happy Friday to you, Lynn Wooley. We've been talking about a number of things here this week as the legislature down at the Texas Capitol comes to an end here on Monday. They are in the home stretch or even halfway down the home stretch. And you mentioned a couple things the other day when it was Dan Patrick calling for a special session because a couple bills have died. The Democrats on the House floor, they do this thing at the end where it's called chubbing, and they stall talk ad nauseum during the day because you got 400 bills on the agenda for the day, and they can only get to about 100. And if they talk long enough, they'll only get to 90, and that means 10 bills just died. But one of those was deplatforming. One of those had to do with this social media effort to not allow conservatives, not allow COVID to be talked about in a certain perspective. And when you mentioned that Governor DeSantis the other day, Lynn, remember we played that clip and he was signing this bill in Florida that if you are a social media platform and you take somebody off for political reasons, you're going to start paying a fine of about $250,000 a day. That's something a lot of folks in Texas would like to see happen, although it died. And one of those, it's not just social issues like gays and lesbians and racial theory and critical race theory. It's also conservative Hispanics in Texas. We've got the chairman of the chairman of Hispanic Republicans for Texas, Mano DeAyala, joining us from Houston, who you have been deplatformed. I found out the other day, and we're thrilled to have you because this is something that's going to affect a lot of Texans, and I think is something that exposes the left's agenda. Mano, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks to all. Thank you for having me. It's, our story happened a few months ago. We had an ad. Our group is the Hispanic Republicans of Texas, and we had an ad on Facebook where we had a 10-year history with.
Yes. And
it was a real simple ad. It said, Hispanic Republicans of Texas, the next generation of Texas leaders. Somehow that violated Facebook's discrimination policy. Now, those were the only words.
Have you figured out what it was?
So we went and asked for a review, and it was rejected. We asked for another review. It was rejected. Then we did what we could, and that is to just talk to those who may be able to help us. And, after a period of time, we finally got released to run that ad. But I tell you what, that was a wake-up call because you hear about it happening to so many other people, larger. You see what happened to the president. You see what happened to the New York Post article with Hunter Biden's story. You hear about all that stuff. Okay, that's them. Those are big guys, what have you. But when it happens to you and you see how easily it can happen, it does raise your eyebrows. It does cause you concern. So we got really excited about Senate Bill 12, SB 12, and thought it was a good bill. It does a very good job of weaving through what it can do and still not violate federal law.
And let me interrupt you there because the number is important. SB 12 means it was the 12th bill introduced, starting with one, going up to about 4,000 every legislative session. But Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick had 30 priority bills, and of the 30 priorities, you start with number one being the budget. This one and protecting folks on social media is number 12. That's a big deal.
I thought so. I wish I knew what happened, but I know that it was more of a technical issue as to why it didn't make it. Like you said, this chubbing.
Well, let me ask you this: if you go to Texas Insider right now, the lead headline is Texas Hispanics will continue to be in play as Republicans' 2020 gains are targeted by Democrats. Your organization was recently featured in the New York Times. I think I've got the actual picture of the ad up there where it says your logo, HRT, Hispanic Republicans of Texas. What's wrong with saying the next generation of Texas leaders? What'd you hear from Facebook?
Oh, there's no Facebook doesn't respond like that. They just allow the ad to run, and they're silent behind whatever it is they hide behind in their decision making. And that's one of the great things about this bill is it allows the consumer, the person in Texas who was censored or silenced, to have a court determine whether Facebook has to disclose the rationale and reasoning to you. It doesn't say they've got to pay $1 million. It doesn't say anything like that. It's just those very simple rights that the consumer uses, again, in what is this new public square. So, again, it was a good bill, well thought out. I think, and I may be wrong, I think it passed the Senate 31-0.
And Mano, again, chairman of Hispanic Republicans of Texas. A lot of folks may be surprised, frankly. I mean, you and I and Lynn, we all cover politics. We know that Hispanic Republicans not only exist, but they are on the rise because of the family values and the gun ownership and the hardworking values. They align with the Republican perspective generally. But right now, we've got the folks in Florida with Governor DeSantis over there signing a bill. Lynn, you played the clip the other day where he got like 30 seconds of standing ovation for signing this bill and shouting down a reporter, essentially. Now, do you have any perspective? I guess we're all waiting to see whether Dan Patrick gets a special session or Governor Abbott has enough fortitude to bring some of these issues back, correct?
Well, again, their priorities are their priorities, and
yes.
Letting them do their job is great, and what they need to prioritize, they need to prioritize. My only thing is this is a good bill, and this, to wait 2 years to address this again, these platforms and these huge tech companies, are only going to, double in size and make it that much harder. So I may exaggerate about the doubling in size. But
Mano, do you think that one reason you might have been deplatformed is that in the minds of liberal entities such as YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter,
Google,
if you're a Hispanic or if you're black, it just does not follow that you can possibly be Republican?
That's the funny thing, because it's my sarcastic tone sometimes. That's what I said. I said, if you can't put the word Hispanic and Republican together, because there's got to be some falseness there in their minds and eyes. So I say that in jest, but yes, you're right. And I will tell you what you guys have been talking about with respect to what's going on in Texas is there is a push and a pull. There is a pull to conservatism by so many people, but there is also a push, and this pretty left ideology that people are seeing now in real life is really pushing a lot of our Texas Hispanics to understand, it's not just voting for good people, it's voting for good policy, and we're seeing a lot of that at HRT.
Okay, Mano DeAyala from Houston. You're an attorney, by the way, so you know what you're talking about, and chairman of Hispanic Republicans of Texas. We want to have you back because this issue, I suspect, is going to be around, and we got to protect people on social media, especially the Hispanic and the African American. These are conservatives. Mano, we just appreciate your effort, and Godspeed to you. Happy Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, Talk 1370, the right choice.
Something else.
Matt Makowiak joins us just mere moments away.
Can we jump into some homelessness?
I think we will.
Okay.
512-643-5483. You have made the right choice. This is Talk 1370.